Call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Kolpak. Here. Pepcorn.
Here.
Preston. Here. Strand.
Here.
Mahoney.
Here. Library. The monthly jigsaw puzzle social and swap is May 18th at the main library starting at 9 a.m. The spring plant swap will be May 20th from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Carlson Library outside near the library learning gardens. Participants can bring seed packets or plants to trade or share as divided perennials and starting garden plants or propagated slips. Tech Help Service for residents who need assistance using technological devices will be Tuesday from 11 to 1 p.m. at the Carlson Library and Wednesday from 3 to 5 p.m. at the main library. During these free sessions, librarians will help residents one-on-one with technical issues with tablets, laptops, e-readers, and smartphones. Residents can call the library to set up a 30-minute appointment, and drop-ins will be accommodated based on staff availability. What a great idea. On May 1st, the groundbreaking was held at the Avery Building along North NP Avenue between Old Broadway and NDSU Renaissance Hall. The building will be a new home to the FM Community Theater with a new cutting-edge theater with more than 400 seats. The FMCT's new space will have meeting rooms and common spaces accessible to the whole community to foster creativity, education, and social gatherings. Along with the theater space, the Avery Building will have room for businesses and will have more than 160 living spaces. The project includes a new parking ramp that will be owned by the City of Fargo with 472 parking spots. Commissioner Pipcorn, thanks for your work with us and the economic incentive to come together. And I want to thank all the rest of the commissioners for supporting this. This is a great public-private partnership. That's yet another great example of our community and business leaders collaborating to make downtown Fargo an amazing destination. Here is a short video that captures the highlights of the recent groundbreaking.
With today's groundbreaking, we're excited to see the continued expansion of the downtown community and the convergence of academia, art, and community.
I thank you to the City of Fargo, our City Commission for their vision, for our Mayor, for Jim Gilmore. I'm certainly glad that we were able to wait for this project because it is a tremendous project. I couldn't have dreamed this big.
Downtown Fargo has been transformed, but it's been a commitment. None of this happens by accident. So let's not forget about the importance of incentives. They make a difference, and they certainly made a difference in downtown Fargo.
Thank you to the city, to you, to the people of Fargo. FMCT is committed to this city. We are 78 years old, our little theater organization, and we are committed to keeping this building full.
This project would never happen without this public-private partnership that is needed to create projects that are complicated like this one in downtown Fargo. There's a lot of complexities to make a project like this happen, and this is a perfect example of how that public-private partnership comes together to create and build the vibrancy in downtown Fargo.
This is truly an example of the City of Fargo. If you collaborate and work together, great things happen. And this is another great example of what's going to happen. This is a livable, walkable community. This is our new neighborhood. This is things that are happening in our community. And this is a fantastic adventure that's happening for all of us.
John, is that the tractor your mother had at one time?
Probably.
It was kind of interesting, that tractor. Anyway.
John Deere diesel. Diesel.
Is there a motion to approve the order of agenda moving item 24 from the consent agenda to the regular agenda?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the April 29th, 2024 regular meeting?
So moved. Second.
Seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 36, excluding item 24, which has been moved to the regular agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Preston.
Aye.
Colpack.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. We'll then move to item 37. Recommendation to approve the First Amendment to the developer agreement with Grow Conclave for a one-year extension. Jim Gilmore to explain.
This is a request from the developer, and Austin Morris is here to explain. This has been reviewed by the Economic Development Incentives Committee, and they are recommending this one-year extension. The current agreement required everything to be in place at the end of this calendar year. The key components of it was they were to have a 20,000 square foot commercial space along here. It's actually 30,000 square feet, so they sort of over-delivered on that part. But they're also supposed to have at least 2 kind of pad sites, either along University or over here. And neither of these are underway, and the developer's having his people interested, but it's just unlikely that they'd be done at a decent quality by the end of this year. Maybe Austin, do you want to explain some of the challenges of trying to get commercial sites going in today's economy? And then the recommendation would be to give them till the end of 2025 to complete this project. The one other thing, the Beyond Shelter, it wasn't part of this agreement, but we had anticipated that Beyond Shelter would build 2 apartment buildings. One is well underway, and it will probably be done, this year. This won't be an apartment building. Instead of, or Beyond Shelter is putting their office building here rather than a second apartment building. So, Austin, do you want to have some comments?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you. So just high level on this development, when we, Grove Enclave as a partnership took on this project to redevelop the Kmart site, we worked together with Beyond Shelter, being there's an opportunity with sheer depth of the site to provide housing on the westernmost portion. We were fortunate to successfully work with Dan Madler at Beyond Shelter to accomplish that piece of the puzzle. We also developed the 30,000 square foot retail center. As you see, we currently have a tenant on the northernmost portion of the building. And then we have the car wash to the south, and then what looks like 3 pad sites on the east portion. It's actually going to end up being 2 pad sites. The one we have a signed lease on, that'll start construction in the next couple of months. The other one to the north, which is the BK, or the Burger King parcel, that will be demolished and be a new retail establishment. We've been working on a number of letters of intent with various users. The reality is, from a timing perspective, we'll get the project started this year. But when we look at the original development agreement, we're just trying to get ahead of the game and be compliant from a TIF standpoint and make sure that we execute for ourselves and the city, and aren't coming to you, in December asking for an extension for something that was supposed to be accomplished in December. So, thank you.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Preston.
So Jim, can you please explain the impact of the one-year extension? Is it just on the undeveloped pieces, the parcel that has been developed? Is that moving forward with the tax exemption at this point? Explain a little more.
What will happen, the city will not provide that tax increment note until the project is, fully completed. And so they wouldn't, if this isn't done until fall of 2025, that's when the note would be given. And at that point, they would have a 15-year return of property taxes that they paid. So it kind of delays the developer's recoupment of their investment.
Okay, so property taxes will be collected on the portion that's completed.
Yes, they will, and they'll go into the TIF fund. What will likely happen is, because they won't be due to the developer, we would, this would be up to the city commission, but you could simply return those funds to the county, and then they'd be distributed to the other taxing jurisdictions, and then their 15-year time period would start after the project is completed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I missed who went first, but okay. Any discussion? Commissioner Strand?
Mayor, with our new procedures, is this the time where we also call for public comment on agenda items?
This isn't a public issue, Jim.
But it's an agenda item.
It's not a public comment agenda item.
Oh, no,
Agenda
but-
items, we already have called for
But
comment.
what we agreed to, I'm not saying there's anybody out there, as I understood it, we agreed that there's available public comment for all agenda items, and then public hearings are also dedicated public comment.
Here's your Kolpak.
Yeah, but they still have to sign up for those agenda.
Okay, that's what I'm,
Yeah.
so nobody signed up.
No, I do have one person who signed up for a agenda item
Okay,
that will come forward.
Perfect.
Thank you for clarifying that. Any other discussion? Call vote, please.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Preston.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Hi. I'm going to jump ahead again as well to 41, since we're not ready for public hearing. Recommendation for appointment to the Economic Development Incentive Committee. You have my recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Preston.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. You have applications for property tax exemptions for improvements made to buildings. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Preston.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. We'll go to item 40. Recommendation to declare protest insufficient for Improvement District BN 23G. Tom Knockbus to explain, and I do have a person who will speak after the staff has explained the proposition.
Good evening. As the mayor stated, presenting an item here tonight, looking for declaration of protest being declared insufficient for Improvement District number BN 23G1. Just brief summary, going to review the project, kind of the process overview, protests of the improvements received, and then finally a recommended motion. Just for some context of where this project is, up along 19th Avenue North, west of 45th Street, north of the Horse Park, immediately west of Mid-America Steel. The new roadway that we are planning is 23rd Avenue North and 53rd Street North, and those are highlighted in green on the map. A little bit of background, Mid-America Steel Edition was platted in 2016, and more recently Veterans Industrial Park Edition was platted in 2023. Just a little overview of the process of platting. I know Commission knows a lot of this, but might be a benefit to the public as well. So plat submitted by the developer. It's first considered by Planning Commission. Adjacent landowners are notified through that process. And this was, approval was recommended by Planning Commission on May 2nd, 2023. Next goes on to City Commission, where again, adjacent property owners are notified. There was a public hearing and approval on July 10th, 2023. Next, we kind of move into design and construction. Upon approval of the plat, the developer makes a request for infrastructure. Engineering then designs the project, and then we bring it to City Commission for creation, including the assessment district. And that happened this year on March 18th. Part of that process too, we do send notices to properties within the improvement district. That notice went out the week of March 21st. Also, what happens is a resolution necessity is advertised, and that starts a 30-day protest period. That was first advertised on March 27th. Originally, we were planned to open bids on April 24th, but unfortunately, there is a Magellan pipeline that runs through this project, and we're still working on with them on an easement to cross their pipeline. And so it's currently scheduled for May 22nd. But with that 30-day protest period, protests were received until April 25th. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. I apologize. So as part of that notice to property owners, The notice that gets sent out, again, it was in the week of March 21st. It includes an estimated cost of the total project, which was just short of $4.3 million for this project. And then also individual notice goes to each property owner, providing an estimate of what their assessments are. And so for Mid-America Steel, and I'm highlighting this because they are the one protest that we've received on this project, was $633,000, which equates to a little bit less than 15% of the total cost of the project. Century Code does allow for the calculation of benefit based upon front foot, square foot, or a combination thereof. The benefit and therefore the cost was based on front footage for this improvement. So next, let's talk about protest. So North Dakota Century Code spells out all this information. But one of the things that states is the governing body of the municipality at its next meeting after the expiration of the time for filing such protests shall hear and determine the sufficiency thereof. Typically, this is done at the time that we're recommending award of the contract. But since bids have been, bid opening has been delayed for this project, we're requesting this determination tonight. So if you recall, a few weeks ago when I was here talking about 45th Street, it's the same language. Century Code dictates that if a majority of owners of the area of the improvement district protest the improvements, that shall be a bar against proceeding with any special assessments of the improvements. So we did receive one protest for a total of 45.1% of the district. And the calculation of protest is based on an area of land, not on a dollar value of assessment. And so what I will eventually be asking City Commission to do tonight is just determine that the one protest received at a rate of 45.1% falls short of the 50% threshold required to bar the improvements from proceeding. First, I want to talk about some next steps and just provide a little bit more background on this project. So again, hoping to, anticipating on opening bids May 22nd. Then the intent would be to be in front of City Commission on May 28th, making a recommendation to either award the contract or reject bids. And then if the contract is awarded, we would be constructing improvements in 2024. Assuming that this does move forward and all work is complete yet this year, then in 2025, we would certify the project and send notices to the property owners within the district. Special Assessment Commission would have a hearing, and at that hearing, all property owners have the opportunity to dispute the benefit of the improvements. At that meeting, the Special Assessment Commission could choose to make alterations in the assessments, and that could be either to increase or decrease them. Then an assessment list is filed with the city auditor. The city auditor publishes that list. And then any aggrieved person may appeal action of the Special Assessment Commission by filing written protests with the city auditor. City Commission would then hear and determine the appeals and objections. And City Commission may choose to increase or diminish assessments as they may deem just. But just one of the things that's highlighted in Century Code, no assessment can exceed the benefit to the parcel of land as determined by the Special Assessment Commission. So again, back to the map. So what's highlighted in that blue box, those are the parcels that were included in the assessment district and deemed to benefit from the improvements. We did receive one protest from the adjacent property owner to the east. And as I've said, that equates to 45.1%. One of the things I want to highlight here is that the decision tonight, it's not about the alignment of the road. I know that the adjacent property owner has some concerns about that. That was decided during the plating process. It's not about whether or not Mid-America Steel benefits. Again, that's based on our infrastructure funding policy. Special Assessment Commission ultimately determines the benefit. And then Mid-America Steel will have an opportunity to dispute benefit at the Special Assessment Commission hearing, and then also make appeal to City Commission if they find it appropriate. Also want to highlight any decision tonight does not dictate future decisions such as award of contract or necessarily special assessment amounts. Again, I've already highlighted that process to protest that. So tonight's decision is really only about whether or not the one protest received at 45.1% meets the threshold required, that threshold being 50%, to bar improvements from proceeding. With that, provide this recommended motion and stand for any questions.
We do have somebody who wanted to speak to this agenda item. It's Attorney Mark Hansen.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Mark Hansen. I'm an attorney at the Nellis Law Firm, and I represent Mid-America Steel in the matter before the commission. I got with me tonight, I have Jaden Peterson, who's president and CEO of Mid-America, as well as John Simonson, who is treasurer. I don't disagree necessarily with a lot of what the city engineer said. And I can appreciate where we're at in this process, in this proceeding. I can appreciate that oftentimes people and companies come before this body and they don't want to pay any specials. They don't believe they're benefited. And I understand that's an argument maybe for down the road. And anecdotally, we've all paid specials we didn't like. I don't really know why I have to pay for that road or that light or that type of thing. That's not what this is about. I also appreciate that staff needs to advocate for its rules and want to move forward and have its rules apply evenly and fairly to everyone. That's not what this is about either tonight. This is different. This is different than what you usually see when you have companies that are paying special assessments. Now, Mid-America is an ESOP, it's employee-owned. The people that are here tonight have a fiduciary obligation to make sure that they just don't write a check when they don't believe it's just or justified. And I think the record will show that Mid-America has paid specials. I think it was $1.2 million for 19th Avenue. I think paid them up. So that's not what this is about either. So what is this about? Well, first of all, I thank the city engineer for having this map up, and this is also what was attached in what I submitted. So let's talk about 53rd Street North, which is in green on what is up in front of the commission. Now, the city engineer said this isn't about moving that road. This plat had already been approved. Mid-America is sort of out of luck, I think is what the argument is from staff. And I disagree with that. So the background, as I understand it, is 53rd Street North was going to be further to the west to begin with, 55th Street. And if you look through some of the documents, you'll see that reference 55th Street rather than 53rd Street. Well, either because of the pipeline that Tom referenced or other reasons, this road got moved further to the east where it's shown here. And that's right where there is an access, right, called a curb cut off 19th Avenue. But why does the road curve? Why doesn't it go straight north and south? The road curves because it was to the benefit of the developer. By curving the road, those lots now are bigger and will yield, I would assume, some more money, which is fine. No problem with that concept. But the result is because that road curves 53rd Street and touches Mid-America Steel, Mid-America Steel's ESOP employees now have an estimated bill of hundreds of thousands of dollars. My understanding is if 53rd Street didn't curve and touch Mid-America and went straight north and south, Mid-America would be assessed nothing. So Mid-America, a flip of a coin, happenstance, because the developer wanted to have an increase in those lots, be able to sell them for more, is now underwriting this project for an estimated amount of $630,000. If Mid-America happened to own more than 45.1% as compared to this development property, it'd be 50%, the protest would be allowed, Mid-America would pay nothing. This is different than what we usually see. This isn't a company that's been around for over 100 years, not paying its bill or wanting to pay its bill. I think we also can appreciate what the process is. The process is this elected body makes these determinations. Staff advocates for a position, and they should. I advocate for my client as I should. We try to talk factually, legally correct, and we try to present what the issues are. This is not Mid-America not wanting to pay specials. I'm sure they don't, but that's not what this is about. This isn't about Mid-America coming in and saying, we don't think it benefits our business. We're not making that argument now. Now,
Mark, can you finish up? We usually have a 2.5 minute limit.
I didn't think I was limited to that based upon.
I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
So if you could.
No, we don't have a limit on public hearings.
Nancy?
So this was an opportunity to present because of the matter that had been discussed. So we didn't limit to the 2.5 minutes. It was apart from the public hearing. He didn't have to sign up. But we have generally said 3 minutes or in that area.
Thank you.
But that's not established anywhere, Mayor, that limit. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if he's done.
Let's let him finish, John. We can debate that later.
I've been in front of enough judges to take the cue, but I will finish. Thank you for accommodating me on that. So far what I've probably said is, okay, this is a little different, but we still have to follow what we have in our process and procedure. What also makes this different is there is a developer's agreement in place. And I attach that to the May 9th letter that is part of your background material. And when this plat was submitted and approved back in July of 2023, it was submitted contingent upon the city entering into a developer's agreement. That developer's agreement, and I believe it's page 37 of the background material, and look at the language in the agreement. In my letter, I highlight what I think is important, but look at what's in that developer's agreement, because that's what controls. In paragraph 4, by my reading, and I think a plain reading, basically says that the project costs, which may be assessed against the development property, which is what's shown up there, which would include 53rd Street North, construction of the initial project and future project, 53rd Street North is the initial project, and to the assessment of the cost thereto to the development property. So the first sentence says that the developer has agreed to the assessment of the cost thereto to the development property. All right, and then you look to the last sentence. The project costs which may be assessed against the development property include all costs of completing the construction of the initial project and future project. So now there's an agreement that the city entered into with the developer that the developer is going to pay for all the costs for this initial project, 53rd Street and 23rd Avenue. So what we're hearing is citizens in this town, including my client, when they get notice that there's a plat to be approved by letter, it doesn't necessarily show the plat, it's just that there's a plat to go look at. Then they come down and they look for the plat, and when they see the plat, they see 53rd Street North touching their property. They're supposed to know, just from that, doesn't say anything, from that they're going to be assessed $630,000. And then if they keep digging, they're going to see a developer agreement that says, wait a minute, when you read that language, it's going to be paid by the developer through this development property. But then they get a letter in March of 2024 that says, no, that's not what it meant. What it means is you have to pay $630,000 for this road. This is a point right now, I would submit that this whole improvement district is void, it's invalid, and frankly, we can't go down the path that the city engineer laid out. Because that path is, basically, we can complain in a year from now, and they might decrease the amount that's paid. That's why this is different. And finally, when you look at Section 40-22-18, which is the statute the city engineer had up, the last sentence, it doesn't say if there are not 50% protests, you have to rubber stamp this at this point. It says if the protests are found to be insufficient or invalid, which is the motion, the governing body may cause the improvement to be made and may contract or otherwise provide. Doesn't say shall. I appreciate the process. I appreciate staff giving us information. And I appreciate that this is the opportunity to say this is not right because of the agreement and because of how this is set up. And you have the ability to not allow this to go any further. And that's what I would request. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Morris, you want to comment to the comment he made on the paragraphs?
Thank you. Yes, I can do that. First, I'll start with the process and procedures have been followed to the benefit of all of the citizens of the city of Fargo. This process is a well-established, time-tested, court-tested process, and it has been challenged previously and has been upheld. With respect to the council's argument regarding the developer agreement, we did meet with council and his clients, and he did advise us of his opinion on the developer agreement. I did advise him in writing that the city disagrees with that interpretation, that in fact, if you read the entire developer agreement, which is included in your packet, paragraphs 2 and 3 specifically identify the infrastructure funding policy, that the developer agrees to make a request for the infrastructure and agrees to pay for that infrastructure for both the initial and future projects in accordance with the infrastructure funding policy, and that the paragraph that is referenced, number 4, is with respect to the waiver of the protest, that the developer who does have more than 50% of the land waives that protest so that he can't waive the protest for the project that is coming forward. So again, all processes were followed. We disagree with the interpretation of the developer agreement. That is an agreement that Mid-America Steel is not a party to. The parties are the developer and the city. Should outside parties be challenging that language that they're not parties to, would be problematic going forward. That's a standing question and a jurisdiction question. So again, I would argue that they're not in a position to argue the terminology. Again, what is before you now is a math question, essentially. It is there a 50% protest? And if not, the motion is to declare the protest insufficient and move the project forward.
Do I have any questions of Tom Knocklis from the commission? Do I have a motion? Commissioner Strand.
Thank you. Tom, I'm just curious bear with me, if the protester Mid-America Steel is 45.1%, does that mean the remainder, the 54.9%, is that one owner?
It is currently one owner, the developer.
I don't know that I've ever seen that before, where one owner can trigger an action that will have this type of implication to a neighbor.
Happens all the time.
Does it?
Yeah. Developer buys land and then
$130,000 worth?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We've
I
seen it
don't know
down
that I've
south.
seen. Is this routine?
I can think of other examples. Most recent in my mind would be just east of this project area, both 41st Street and 43rd Street on two separate improvement districts, actually. 41st Street north of 19th Avenue on the east side of John Deere, up on 19th Avenue. And then as part of Laverne's first edition, 43rd Street on the very west side of John Deere. Same type of thing, that the developer platted land, roadway access at appropriate locations, that immediately abutted John Deere's property, and they were within the special assessment district for both those. I can't recall off the top of my head if John Deere protest either one of those improvements, but they were in the district.
Mr. Preston.
So I spoke with Mr. Simonson earlier, and I was mistaken about one thing that makes this unique is that this is a local street, but it's concrete. So thus the 4.2 million. And it then creates a little bit of a hardship probably for the adjoining property owner. One thing though, when I looked at the map, I didn't understand very well why initially the platting for the Mid-America Steel allowed access from 19th Avenue, understanding that that's an arterial, probably going to be a heavily trafficked arterial. There's trucks going in and out, I'm sure, of Mid-America Steel. So, you know, it didn't make sense to me when I looked at that, why those two access points were allowed. And it seems that the process has probably improved since that platting, which was in 2016. So that probably would not be done today, hopefully. Because at some point, you're going to probably lose full access to those access points because of the traffic flow on 19th. So 53rd is probably going to be part of the future for that lot. So, you know, I understand fully the consternation here, but understand also this needs to be concrete, and it needs to be, you know, an access point probably for your lot in the future. So,
Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Strand.
I'm just curious if you could help me. If this action tonight is to declare the protests insufficient. Remind me what the next steps will be, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, for this property owner to contest this decision is ultimately at the Special Assessment Commission hearing. Typically happens in the fall. This would likely happen in the fall of 2025. And so that's where they could raise this concern that they don't believe that they benefit from these improvements. Ultimately, that three-member commission of Special Assessment Commission ultimately has the decision-making when it comes to determination of benefit. Once they determine what that benefit is, again, it comes to City Commission. One of the things I'll make you aware of, though, is through my interpretation and my understanding of Century Code, City Commission could determine upon appeal of the property owner to change the special assessments, but the way the Century Code reads is that any cost can't be greater than the benefit. So if they've already determined the benefit for adjacent properties, that cost can't just be reallocated to other properties. It would have to be the city that chooses to essentially buy down what Mid-America's cost is related to the benefit. Hope that makes
Commissioner
sense.
Kolpak.
Yes, thank you. And yes, I had several conversations on this, and I have most of my answers were very much sufficed with those answers. But I will say I see this decision as a very narrow first step. There is a process following this where we'll have more data and information on the benefits that we can then weigh on any protest or consideration for a change. And to Commissioner Preston's point, yes, very much in the future, the benefits, if it is not full access from 19th Avenue, it likely will be this new arterial. It will become for them on the west side. So,
The other thing, Commissioner Strand, which we've done in the past, if Mid-America doesn't want to develop at this time, those are those deferrals we sometimes give for 10 years. So they would have the option to come to City Commission next year and request a 10-year deferral. As all that area develops, they may then use the access road, and they do have a slight of land. There's an empty lot area they have as well that could be sold or developed if they wanted. So there's some options that company would have, which I presume City Commission would consider.
That was exactly my next question. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Preston.
if I could clarify, so when you're talking deferrals, are you talking on the Eagle Ridge side or on the Mid-America side?
On the Mid-America side, since they're not developing their property. The other side is developing the property.
Okay, I would have lots of trouble with that.
Well, no, the other side said they won't protest it, which they're not. They're asking for the roadway to go into there. If they came to us and that, they're developing, like, if you're developing, you can't ask for a deferral. If you're not developing is when you can ask for a referral.
But that lot is totally developed.
No, it's not. They have an empty space. Tom, can you put the map up again, please?
Okay, so it'd be just a portion of the lot. Let me just ask one, or respond just briefly to Commissioner Kolpak's comment. This is an important step in the process because truly, in my mind, when we are assigning benefits, it would not be, in my mind, appropriate for placing the accountability for the additional cost that we would reassign, or that we would pull away from Mid-America. We would not want the general public to be paying for that. I mean, that would not make sense. This is a local road. It services, I don't know, probably at the end, I don't know, 12 businesses. Yeah, I would have lots of trouble at going, that we tap into the sales tax revenue or something like that. That would not be appropriate in my mind.
Tom, can you just point out the space that they have to possibly develop?
So I think what you're referencing, Mayor, is just, there is, give or take, probably 5 acres of open land here as part of Mid-America's current parcel that they could choose to grow into or parcel off if they found best.
And I think it answers your question about in going in and going out. That does allow them to access this road further down to have an entry and then an exit way. Right now, that road lines up with the road that goes across to the horse park, so it's a natural intersection. Mr. Strand.
Just one last question is, did I hear you say October is when the Special Assessments Committee, 2025 or 2024?
So the special assessment here, so with the timeline of construction for this project, it's unlikely that final payment certification, all those things are happening for fall of this year. And so typically we're running those projects once a year. It's usually happening in August. And so that would likely be in August of 2025.
Being as we know there's a contested issue here, is that timeline acceptable to everybody?
It certainly is to me. I mean, to the mayor's previous comment, it gives a time that if Mid-America Steel wanted to request a deferral agreement, that's something us through engineering special assessments can help them through the process. It's ultimately a decision from City Commission on whether they'd entertain that deferral, though.
Mr. Strand, remember what happens on specials is they wait till the construction is done, so then it's a final cost. So the reason you would wait till next fall is a final cost. It may come in less than 630. It may come in a different number. So that final cost is what you're going to protest. No payments are made this year. No payments are made next year. They have to wait till the project is done. But it does allow them to come to us to ask for a deferral regardless of the cost. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Preston.
I can ask one more clarification question about deferrals. So can a deferral be done if it's not platted to be a separate lot? I mean, then anybody could say, okay, my green grass, I might build something there at some point. I would assume, and it has to be platted before a deferral would be awarded.
I think ultimately that's a City Commission decision that I don't know that exists in policy that defines it currently.
In my mind, that would be crazy.
No, typically they plat when they're going to develop it. So they wouldn't necessarily, a farmer who had farmland wouldn't plat it out if they're not going to develop it. If they platted it, they then would be subject to starting to pay specials, as I understand it.
So let me try to answer this question. It's been rare, if it's happened at all, that a property has been platted, built on, and the city has entered into a deferral agreement with that property owner. I'm not aware of it happening, not to say it hasn't, not to say that city commission couldn't make that determination here, but from my recollection, I'm not aware of that happening.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Preston.
I would be scared of the precedents that we would be setting there.
I just would remind Mid-America Steel did very well when we finally moved from downtown. We're a good neighbor. They paid off their specials, $1.3 million, I believe it was, when 19th Avenue came in. And this would be something that you could negotiate, but the reality is we do not give specials if something's being developed. We don't pay for them. So people usually have to pay for them. If there's no other discussion, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Kolpak?
Aye.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Preston?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Public input opportunity is item 38, section 5307, Federal Transportation Administration Grant Preliminary Program Projects for 2024. Julie Bummelman to explain.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Let me just, okay. Thank you. Annually, the City of Fargo receives what we refer to as Section 5307 grant funds. They're for capital and operating. These are not discretionary funds. These are appropriations that are determined annually. This year, because we moved to a large urban, we did see the funding in this particular grant go down a little bit. But every year I bring the suggested program or projects to the commission for a public hearing and approval to go ahead and submit and execute the grant. So you'll see on your screen the various amounts, the 2.965 million, that's the amount that we were awarded. And the functions and activities that we're doing, proposing to do, are listed under the descriptions. So we have some that we use for capital, some that we use for planning, operating, and security. We're required federally mandated to use 1% for security services in activities. So that's why you see that broken out like that. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You know, when we went to the new format that we got because of the size of the city, the metro area, when you say it went down a little bit, are we talking 200, 300,000 or how much money, Julie?
It went down about 26% from what we got.
26%.
Right, from what we got last year.
And there's just, that's the way the law is?
It is, yeah. I honestly am not sure of the logic behind that, but some of it might be, well, you're a larger area, you collect more. I'm not sure from whom, but
we have challenges north-south, big narrow city, difficult to get our transit throughout the community. None of that's taken into account.
None of it. It's all based on what they appropriate for this size, this population base. There's some population density and population taken into consideration, but it's a kind of an unforgiving formula.
Then sometimes when I talk to Commissioner Strand, he wants us to get grants. Are there any grants? I know you search for grants all the time, Julie. Are there grants we've tried to find?
There are grants, just not any for operating. There's capital, which I go after every year, and we have been very successful in getting those. Generally speaking, a capital grant, like when you buy buses for, let's just throw that out there, it's generally an 80-20 match, so the city only pays the 20, or oftentimes now they've dropped that to 15% for the buses. So the city absorbs the 15%, and then the federal government puts up.
And how much does a bus cost now?
The buses that we just got were just a bit under 600,000 each.
Thank you. Any questions, Julie? John, you've looked at this, it's okay?
I have, you know, and I've met with our transit folks and talked through some of these topics. My sense is you're all trying to look to the future and see what this means. We got this growing footprint of a city, growing, expanding services, and a dramatic pull in federal support financially, as I see it.
It is. It is.
Is this a receive and file, or do we need to approve?
The motion that's in your memo, and I apologize, I should have put it on this as well, but is to approve this program of projects and then approve me to submit and execute the grant when we actually get it processed.
I make the recommended motion, Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Strand,
Yes.
Preston,
Aye.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, permanent route and service changes for Matt Bust, you're going to explain that, or Cole's going to explain that?
Cole is going to explain it, but I'll be here for
Cole
support.
Swingen is going to explain the route changes.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So a little bit of background. The City of Fargo Transit Department has been experiencing a number of challenges and different things that it's been facing over the last couple of years, mainly due to the COVID-19 pandemic. With that, we've seen things from a pretty significant decrease in ridership. Previously, back in 2019, we were serving about 1.8 million rides per year. And then compared to in 2023, we served about 1.2. So with that, we have seen our overall ridership base decrease a bit. Also with that, we have been experiencing driver shortages over the last few years as well. Post-COVID, as a lot of businesses and industries around here know that it is difficult to find and maintain work. With that, we have had to cut frequency and service in different areas of our department in order to be able to consistently provide reliable service to the people that depend on us on a day-to-day basis. Those, in combination with what Julie had previously spoken on, the decrease in federal funding, has led us to go through a proposal to make some of these service decreases that we have made over the last few years permanent, to be able to better utilize the drivers, vehicles, and everything else that we have available to us to be able to provide the best service that we can to the local community. So going into some of the details of these proposed changes, largest one being changes to service hours. Currently, we operate from 6:15 a.m. to 10:15 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 7:15 a.m. to 8:15 p.m. on Saturdays. Previously, before all these service changes that we have enacted, we were open from 6:15 a.m. to 11:15 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 7:15 a.m. to 11:15 p.m. on Saturdays. So the proposed change here is to adjust service hours to be 6:15 a.m. to 10:15 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then we would like to extend hours based on some of the public comments that we've received over the last couple of weeks to be 7:15 a.m. to 10:15 p.m. on Saturdays. In addition to these service hour changes, we do have a couple of route-specific changes. Going through those, we are proposing that Route 13, which services the northern portion of Fargo, would decrease from 30-minute service to 60-minute service on Saturdays only, based on ridership trends that we've been seeing. Change to Route 15, which services the downtown area going down University Drive to 13th Avenue, West Acres, Walmart, some of the big shopping destinations down there. We're proposing to reduce it from 15-minute service to 30-minute service just in the mornings from 6:15 a.m. to 9:45 a.m., again based on ridership and demand. The next change listed is to eliminate Route 32W. 32W was a route that was specifically for the NDSU campus. Over the last couple of years, NDSU has also dealt with some budgetary restrictions and things of that nature, so they elected not to renew that route. Similarly to Route 33, we are proposing that to reduce Route 33 from 10-minute service all day with 7-minute service during peak times to just 10-minute service all day. Again, that was an NDSU route that went from their main campus to their downtown campus, but NDSU has elected not to have that third vehicle on that route. And then the final change listed is Route 36, eliminating Route 36 entirely. Route 13 services the same area that Route 36 does. With that, it services the NDSU campus as well as North Fargo. So eliminating Route 36, we were able to put a second vehicle on Route 13, so we're able to still service the NDSU population that 36 services, as well as the larger population that lives in North Fargo. And then just a brief look into some of the financial impacts that these changes would have for us. We would be saving approximately $306,000 by enacting these changes, comparing if nothing was enacted to the proposed changes in 2025. By ending service at 10:15 p.m., it saves the Transit Department approximately $97,000, and reducing the frequencies and those other proposed changes of eliminating routes save about $209,000. Throughout this process, we have received public comments. The majority of them were in regards to the Saturday service. We're originally going to be proposing ending service at 8:15 p.m., but since we have received those comments, we've elected to extend to 10:15. But besides that, most comments have been favorable.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to approved or the changes that has been put forth today? Is there anybody wishing to speak to the bus service? If not, I close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a comment.
Commissioner Kolpeck.
I have the privilege of sitting on the Transit Committee with Commissioner Strand, and I will just share that there is a lot of data that supports any change, as hard as any change can be to one individual citizen. I would say the priority here is really to ensure the most access to all routes for the most citizens as possible, especially with the driver shortages. And the last comment is these savings will also help. We're increasing the wages of the bus drivers to help with recruitment and retention. And so that's another important component of this. Thank you.
Nice to hear that, because we saw this in the paper and on the news. So Cole, it's nice that we had the hearings, and I'm glad you did make some changes to respond to the comments of the community. Nicely done. Roll call vote, please.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Or Commissioner Strand.
Bear with me. Cole, as long as you're there, and Julie perhaps too, but there's some changes coming. One particular change I just want to remind us is on the radar that we should look forward to and anticipate. And that is, the day's going to come where all these contracted employees, drivers, will hopefully be rolled into our workforce, and for all kinds of reasons, and have them be part of our culture and not outside contract services. Just a heads up that that's been brewing in the past. I'm championing that topic for some reasons, but it's going to be vetted. Lastly, Cole, could you touch on safety? There's like, we've had discussions on safety in City Hall. There's some issues with safety too. Just in a nutshell, tell us about the safety concerns in the transit world, please.
Sure. So we have seen a number of different issues since I've been here for about the last 5 or 6 years now. Especially recently, we've seen a number of individuals coming into our facilities and on our vehicles threatening staff and drivers. We have put in a number of different things in place, such as driver barriers in our buses to try to help with that, but we still see some instances of either verbal harassment, mostly, occasionally physical violence, but it is definitely something that we're concerned about. We do have security on site at the Ground Transportation Center, but we are looking for other ways to help better protect our drivers, our other citizens that ride the buses and utilize our services, as well as our admin staff members.
Thank you.
Thank you, John, for that. Roll call vote, please.
Strand,
Yes.
Kolpeck.
Aye.
Preston, Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Thank you. Item 24, items from the FAHR staff meeting. Commissioner Pepcorn, do you want Susan to explain it first, or would you like to make a comment?
No, I appreciate it. I just think it's obviously good information for the whole commission, and it was on the consent agenda, and obviously that's not appropriate when it's, and obviously we don't have a committee right now that's meeting monthly, so I just thought it would be good for all the other commissioners, so thank you, Susan.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. So what you have before you, as Commissioner Pepcorn mentioned, is the summary of our FAR, we call it FAR meeting. It's a staff meeting, finance, admin, and HR. We're meeting on a bi-weekly basis off of the commission so that we can get these to you in a timely manner. FAR has no delegated specific authority. It's basically a communication and education among the department heads. We've had 3 meetings so far. We've had some really good conversations. We've kind of intended it to be a place for all things finance, admin, and HR before they come to the commission. So what I've done is, instead of having these as individual items, I would just package them up as a little report, indicate that it's been reviewed. I added a cover sheet that might have a little more information than maybe the department put together, and then indicate that FAR either endorsed it, or I think there's a couple occasions where we suggested a different funding or that sort of thing. So strive to keep it pretty self-explanatory. We're doing sales tax and the monthly financials on an every other basis. So this week has the sales tax update, and then there are some budget adjustments and personnel requests that we have listed in here. If anyone has any specific questions.
Just the sales tax seemed to drop quite a bit. Is that just an adjustment that may change as we go the next month? Or?
Yes, actually, I looked at these a lot at the Fargo Dome when we were collecting sales tax, so I got used to seeing some kind of weird movements. The sales tax department collects it on a cash basis, so sometimes there are people that are late payers or they're doing corrections. So I saw that was a lot lower and was going to wait until the next one to see. But since the question was raised, I did call them. It's kind of interesting. She called it a flop. It happens so often that they have a name for it, but it's when the end of the month, so the February deadline for filers is the last day of March, which was Sunday. So then the deadline is moved to April 1st. So most people have they just set to pay that day, which means that those monies then flow into the next months. And she told me that our March collections will be 6.98 million. So the two of those will average out.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mr.
Preston.
So appreciate actually hearing the explanation of the sales tax revenue. I'm wondering if and when it might be possible to actually get, I don't know if it will take an ordinance change, Nancy, or how we get the finance committee reestablished at the commission level so that we more clearly understand what the FAHR committee is all about?
Yes, I agree. We've been talking about it kind of conceptually, and it does need to be formalized. So we do have the second quarter meeting coming up in 2 weeks. I think that would be a good time for us to put forward what we think the plan should be, and then get your input on it, and we can formalize it.
If I could follow up. Second meeting in 2 weeks. Are you talking the
second quarter finance committee meeting?
And that's gotten scheduled? Is that the same meeting as the parking fund report? Or
Nope, that's Friday. That's this Friday. It's the 28th. It's the day after Memorial Day. Initially, we wanted that to be a little earlier in May, but with the Washington, D.C. trip, it kind of messed up our budget meeting schedule. We wanted to get through everybody before we had that first meeting.
I still had a question mark on it. So we are scheduled for the 28th.
Yes, it's 11 to 12:30. Kemper will be sending something out.
Okay.
So
would be good.
Just so we understand per her request, Nancy, would that be quote a policy change or an ordinance change?
The Finance Committee was not established by ordinance previously, so it would be a motion of this commission to establish the committees. You could choose to have ordinances for the Finance Committee, for the City Commission to meet as a Finance Committee, if you wish.
Just to formalize it, could we look at something at that meeting in 2 weeks? Would you be able to formulate something so we could look at it as a team?
Yes.
Would that be fair? Thank you. Any other discussion? Commissioner Kolpak.
Yeah, just a couple comments for the public to understand kind of the former process here of these two committees that, come before. First was the Position Evaluation Committee. The second was the Finance Committee. Used to meet with the mayor and one other commissioner with staff. For the Position Evaluation Committee, there were no minutes taken, there was no notice of the meeting, there was no transparency or insight. And for the Finance Committee, there was no notice until recently. And the minutes are posted with the agenda on the Finance Committee website page, but they were not forwarded like we saw today in the consent agenda, the detail of that conversation, topic by topic. And so for the public to now be able to have access and insight into those topics collectively with finance there, along with HR and admin, is really changing the sunlight on these processes. And it's also allowing the public to transparently see the actions of this committee that will ultimately go up to the commission for final approval. Lastly, I'll share, it's also important to remember that some of the work of this committee is putting together policy for consistency, and it will be that policy that also comes to this commission for ultimate approval, so that that committee is operating within the parameters of those policies approved with oversight by this full city commission. So I really appreciate the changes, and I hope the public appreciates the new transparency.
Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Preston.
Aye.
Colpack.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Liaison updates. Mr. Strand.
Thank you, Mayor. Two quick updates. The Airport Authority Board and some of us will be going to Sioux Falls on Thursday to look at their airport. They have a new parking ramp, a new airport development expansion that we're looking to just see and bring that information back home. So that'll be fun. I would, that whole process is just extremely exciting to see that huge development coming in our city that's going to be so transformative for the future, just beyond comprehension how big this is. And so that's happening Thursday. The last thing is, last week we had the student art bus wrap reveal. And I think it was Katie Trana. I believe I got her first name from Ben Franklin, the student that created the art. What a fun thing to see one of our young artists just beaming with pride and having this bus-sized mural behind her that's going to go around town for a year. I mean, it's fun to see, and the messaging in it for sustainability and reuse and recycling and so on. But that was really just a fun little project to have us do. That was last week. So watch for the bus around town.
Good. Mr. Kolpak.
Yeah, I've seen that bus everywhere. Commissioner Stroud, I'm not kidding. I've seen it everywhere. It looks great. Just one kind of fun story. So I did attend the groundbreaking for MP Avenue, and we had a comment, Commissioner Stroud, in the beginning about the Avery and the mayor's question and the naming of that tractor and the significance important to that event. What you may not know is it was also named after the granddaughter of Chief Dirksen. So that's my only update today.
Oh my goodness. This week we're going to Washington. We're having a memorial service for Officer Wallin. He will be etched on the granite out there at that time. I believe we have almost 70 officers, am I right, Travis, going out to be participation in that. At that time, we will honor services that they have given to our community. And Zach received an award yesterday as one of the top 10 officers in the nation, which I think we all should be very proud of, that he's risen to that level. But I think it's always a good time to say thanks to our police force that protects us and our firefighters as well that do such a great job. So thank you. Commissioner Preston.
Yeah, so the growth plan draft is finally out on the tables, I think. I don't know if you've all seen it or have access to it yet, but it's looking real good, and hopefully that will be up for approval within the next few weeks. Then also, I think the RFP process is starting for the Land Development Code revision, so we're moving. And then finally, the library. The numbers for the library really popped up. So far in 2024, the first 4 months were the highest circulation numbers for the last 15, 20 years. So it seems like they have fully recovered from COVID.
Commissioner Pipcorn.
No update.
Motion to adjourn?
Well, no, is there any public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, John. You did catch me there. Good. Now we go to resident comments. Yes. So at this time, the City Commission will hear comments from residents. We will ask the speaker who has signed up to address the Board of City Commissioners to state their name for the record. Speakers must refrain from using this forum to criticize or complain about specific employee or commissioner. Vulgar or profound language will not be tolerated. The Board of City Commissioners is interested in your comments and will listen carefully, but not obliged to respond or debate issues in this forum. Should you desire a written response to a specific question, you may request it. This evening, each speaker will be allowed 2.5 minutes for a maximum of 30 minutes for a total of 12 speakers. A timer will be used and you will receive a beep 15 seconds remaining of the 2.5 minutes. Our first speaker is J.K. Atkinson.
Hello, my name is KJ Atkinson, and I come to you today with a heavy heart and to take a moment to reflect on Mother's Day. Just yesterday, many folks celebrated their mothers and the impact they've had on their lives. While I was out and about yesterday, I couldn't help but notice all the smiling faces of mothers with their children of all ages while they went about whatever activities they set out to do together that day. As I looked at all of their smiling faces, I couldn't help but to think of all the mothers and children of Gaza. The images of footage of children grasping their mothers' body bags, the mothers cradling their dead, bloody children in their arms, and the premature infant taken from its dead mother's womb played on a loop in my head. I couldn't help but to think about the over 17,000 children that have been orphaned in Gaza as they live in terror. I couldn't help but to think of the mothers in Gaza that have lost their children, the ones who have had to identify their decomposing child's body when it was exhumed from a mass grave or see the shredded remains of their children hanging from the trees. When I wished my own mother a happy Mother's Day, I couldn't help but to think about the Palestinian community members I know here, whose mothers and grandmothers are trapped in Gaza. I was reminded of the privilege I have to be able to wish my mom well and express my love to her, and how many Palestinians don't have that luxury. I'm reminded of the impact this has on our local community as well as abroad, and how important it is that we speak out about what is taking place. When we talk about Mother's Day, we can't leave Palestinians out of the conversation when mothers in Gaza are receiving C-sections without anesthesia and giving birth to the sounds of bombs rather than a finely tuned playlist. We can't leave them out of the conversation. When the mothers and children of Gaza are experiencing famine while many of us celebrate over meals, we cannot leave them out of the conversation. When mothers must watch as their children become quite literally skin and bone because Israel is systematically starving them, we cannot turn a blind eye. We cannot forget about the suffering taking place and the horrors Israel is inflicting upon them. We cannot allow the world to move on without them. I hope those here today can take a moment to reflect as well, to put yourself in their position and imagine how desperately you would want somebody, quite frankly anybody, to speak up and say that this has to stop. You can be that person. I implore all of you sitting up there today to use your position and voices to call for a ceasefire. I urge you to reconsider the resolution and do what is right. Thank you.
Perry Johnson.
My name is Prairie Johnson.
Oh.
Oh.
Go ahead,
You
Prairie.
let me know when I can.
I missed
Okay.
it. I didn't know you were virtual. Go ahead.
My name is Prairie Johnson. I'm three generations deep in Fargo and many more in North Dakota. I'm deeply disappointed that I and other community members must continue to come here to beg you to show that you care through the passage of a ceasefire resolution, to do for Palestine what you have done in the past for Ukraine. At what point will you consider the horrors to be enough? How many children must die for you to care enough to call for a ceasefire? How many bodies must be exhumed from mass graves outside of hospitals, catheters still in place, hands bound, heads decapitated, for you to feel this has to stop? Today, Euromed shared a report that stated when counting those under the rubble, 47 23,640 people have been killed, nearly 16,000 of which are children. Are those numbers not appalling? Do you not see the urgency when we come week after week showing you the numbers are growing? Do you not feel guilt in seeing how many more have been ruthlessly murdered as you choose to remain silent? Just a few days ago, whistleblowers exposed a concentration camp that the IDF is utilizing to torture Palestinians. One of the medics at the concentration camp was among the whistleblowers and stated that they stripped them of anything resembling human beings, and that the wounded are secured to their beds, dressed in diapers, and fed through a straw. The whistleblowers reported that some were even having to have amputations due to the injuries sustained from constantly being cuffed. Wounds are left to fester. Wounds are left to fester to a point it can be smelled in the air. And procedures are often done without anesthesia or by underqualified medics. According to the Humanity Project, evidence collected over the last 7 months indicates that this is one of the facilities Palestinians are transported to, not only to be tortured, but also executed. The war crimes and crimes against humanity keep mounting, and you keep choosing complicity. Netanyahu has ordered the invasion of Rafah, and we are already seeing the damage begun to inflict. There are over 1 million Palestinians in Rafah, 600,000 of which are reported to be children. All of these people are at severe risk of slaughter if they don't die from malnourishment and dehydration due to...
That's all the commenters we have tonight. Now, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.